Welcome everyone. My name is James Edward Taney Jr., but folks around here just call me Jim. I spent many years helping out with this production, and so I'm actually very honored to be able to tell my story. Now, if you will, let me take you back to March 4th, 1944, where I was born in Sioux City, Iowa. As a toddler, I had long blonde curly hair, and my mother said I was the most beautiful baby. But then again, all mothers think that. She even entered me into a baby pageant. My father, James Sr., was in the Army, so while I was still young, he moved us to downtown Salt Lake City to live next door to my grandma and grandpa Jones. Now, Grandpa had moved to Utah earlier to work at the Cudahy meatpacking plant and stockyard up in North Salt Lake. I remember back on those Saturdays, my friends and I would ask Dad for a penny, so we go get a penny gumball. And then we would go down to the Siegel Monument Fountain at Temple Square, put that gum on the end of a stick, and fish around for nickel and dimes so we could go to the Saturday matinee. We were our own little rascals. In 1953, Dad moved us to the new Kearns community that was built on top of the old Camp Kearns military base. That's where I attended Kearns Junior High and later Granger High. Now, after living in the concrete jumble of the downtown Salt Lake, the suburbs were a whole new world to me. My friends and I would play out in the open fields, and we even dug a cave under one of the old barracks as our secret hideout. Now, at that age, I loved to collect comic books, and I had a huge box full. And I said to myself one day, Jimbo, you should hide that box in that cave for safekeeping. So, of course, I did. And as chance would have it, one day after school, my friends and I headed back to our hideout, and the whole thing had collapsed overnight. Good thing we weren't in it, but I never saw any of my comic books ever again. In high school, my attention turned to cars. Now, I've owned 40 in my lifetime to be exact, but my favorite was a 1951 two-door hardtop Pontiac Catalina. She was cherry. My mom loved to race cars with me and my friends, and we would just drag race on our local streets. And to this day, I still don't know how she did it, but she beat us every single time. It was amazing. At Granger, I met a beautiful girl named Connie Stedman. She was a year older than me, and wow, she took my breath away. Now, if she was telling you the story, she would say that I was the one who was the big flirt, but don't believe it. Well, as teenagers do, we were all hanging out at the S&M skating rink just up Ritter Road here. And Connie had gone there on a date with some other boy. I don't know if it was my smile or the twinkle in my eye, but I'm the one who got to drive her home that night. That evening went so great that we became high school sweethearts. And of course, I was one cool cat with my buddies for dating an upperclassman. When Connie graduated, she moved on to BYU, and I followed her a year later. I loved everything about Connie. We enjoyed so many of the same things and had so many of the same interests. The only difference was our religion. I saw how happy that she was, so I decided to investigate the Mormon Church. I was later converted and baptized on my 21st birthday. And then we were married 3 months later in June of 1965. Now, after our first year, I began to realize that college really wasn't for me. I was much happier working with my hands and tinkering. So I took an internship up at Primary Children's Hospital as an orthotist, where I specialized in making prosthetics and leg braces for the kids. And I have to tell you, that was probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, watching their faces light up as they became independent and were able to take their first steps again. But that is a whole other story. Now, Connie's family was a really close-knit bunch. And so one day, her kid brother, Rod Stedman, and I were up poking around in his grandpa's attic. And we found an old black powder .32 caliber Kentucky long rifle. Now, Rod and I had always been interested in guns, so we took it to a meeting of the Mountain Man of the Wasatch up at the Holiday Gun Club. We met with one of the members there. His name was Vinegar Bill Watts. Oh, Vinegar Bill, he was a character. Now, if you ever have a thought of a mountain man in your mind's eye, he was it. Robert Redford's got nothing on Vinegar Bill. Well, he took that old rifle, he inspected it, looked it over, and began to load up powder, patch, and a ball, tapped it down, and handed it to me and said, "Shoot it." Okay. Boom! Huge old cloud of white smoke and sparks flew out of that barrel, and man, I was hooked. He showed us so many other Mountain Man items, and I fell in love with the huge 50 caliber Hawken rifle. So when I got home that night, I began ordering parts and I built my own. It had a beautiful tiger stripe maple stock, and that beauty can take down any game in North America. This, of course, led me to many other Mountain Man activities, such as Dutch oven cooking, gun shows, and demonstrations. I even have a teepee that we will sleep in at the rendezvous at Fort Bridger, where I was given the nickname Trader Jim. Now, throughout all this, even though I did so many fun and amazing things, I would have to say that my greatest accomplishment is my family. Connie and I are blessed with 5 children, 19 grandchildren, and as of 2 weeks ago, 7 great-grandchildren. I love being a dad and I adore being a grandpa. They call me Pop-Up. Well, later on, I started a Dutch oven catering business and called it Let's Go Dutch. Now, the whole family was heavily involved in 4-H, scouting, and church activities, so we catered many meals for these groups as well as our local cities and businesses. I really led a full life, but while Connie and I weren't doing all these other activities with the kids, we did things that we love to do. We've been on 10 cruises together, we worked as inner-city missionaries, and we even served a mission at the Utah State Prison. But if I had to pick something, I think our greatest time spent together was helping to restore the Taylorsville Banyan Heritage Center. Some of you might remember it as the old Jones Dairy Farm. Well, the home, which is now the museum, was very special to Connie because it belonged to her grandma and grandpa Jones. Now, I spent probably 15 years caring for that property, and I really enjoyed, restoring and helping bring new life to the property and the area and the barn and the house, and I really enjoyed watching the visitors enjoy memories from the past. Tonight, folks, I hope you've enjoyed visiting my memories from the past, and hope you have a great evening. Thanks for coming and spending some time with me, and as my friend and neighbor Gary Swinson over here says, watch your feet.